Shalom, everyone, and welcome to Wow equals Words of Wisdom number 43. Mistakes, poor choices, and bad decisions. Mistakes, poor choices, and bad decisions. Three different categories, three different thought processes and mindsets that you have to be in one of those three categories. And many times we hear it was a mistake. And a lot of times when people are categorizing something as a mistake, that's really not true. Okay. It's usually the easiest category for people to pick because in our flesh and in our, just our nature, a lot of times we don't want to take responsibility for the decision that we made. If it's good, or the outcome was great, we want credit. If it's bad, we don't want to take responsibility. And so today I want to talk about those three categories: mistakes, poor choices, and bad decisions. And I've always thought about this, very, very deeply in my own life, because I'm the type of person, I want to know why something happened. Why is something going on in my life? Why did I end up in this situation? Why did things play out the way that they played out in my life? How can I keep this from happening in my life again? I like to live my life with as little regret as I possibly can. All of us have things that we have said and done in our past that we regret and want to forget. Let's put it that way. But I'm the type of person that I don't like making the same mistakes over and over and over again, or keep doing the same, I call them death cycle decisions over and over and over again. But when I see that something keeps showing up in my life and I keep doing the same thing over and over and over again, and the results of those actions are, negative consequences, bad outcomes, I start examining myself and saying, okay, where am I at in all of this? And so mistakes is when you do something and you truly and sincerely and genuinely did not know. You did not know, you did not understand that this was wrong, that what you said was wrong, how you were thinking was wrong, what you did was wrong. You didn't know. You were completely ignorant that what you did was wrong. That's a mistake. Something that is done out of ignorance. Okay? You were ignorant to the fact that what you were saying, doing, or even your thought process or mindset on something was wrong or faulty. All right. There's times where people have genuinely operated in that category. I have operated in that category and went, oh, you know what? I'm truly sorry. I did not know that I wasn't supposed to do fill in the blank. Okay. Everybody has been in that category at one time or another. But if we really are honest with ourselves and we take the time to look at our lives, and we start to look at what happened in a particular situation, ask yourself, I always have to ask myself, is it that I just didn't know? And I know that there's a lot of things that I say now, and I said, if I only knew then what I know now, I would definitely do things differently. And that was just because I really didn't know. I was really ignorant in those situations, especially like things like finances and things of that nature. There's things that I know now that if I had to go back and do it all over again, and if I could correct those mistakes, the things that I did out of pure, sincere ignorance, I would do them over again. I would just do them over again. And I would do it with the wisdom and the knowledge and the life experience that I have now. Those were genuine mistakes. I wasn't going out trying to make, trying to make bad decisions or poor choices. I just didn't know. And all of us have fallen in that category. But the issue here is when you make a decision and you have poor choices, and you have a good choice in front of you, something that the direction that you should go in, and then you have a poor choice in front of you that, if you take that direction, if you go down that path, it may not turn out right for you, or it may not turn out right for you. And so instead of you making the right choice, you make the poor choice. You pick the poor choice, which turns into a bad decision. Okay? There are so many people who do that in their lives. They have a choice to make the right choice or the poor choice. They pick the poor choice, okay? And they know that the poor choice is a poor one, all right? And they make a bad decision. And then they say, oh, I made a mistake. I don't know how that happened. Man, I made a mistake. And that's not true. If you have two choices in front of you, and most of us know right from wrong, some basic, at the basic fundamental level, we know right from wrong. And you have two choices in front of you. One is a good choice, and one is a poor choice. And you make the decision to pick the poor choice and go into that bad decision route. You can't cop out and say, oh, I made a mistake. But that's what a lot of people do, because most people don't want to be accountable for their bad decision. They don't want to be accountable. So they run to that category, oh, I made a mistake. I made a mistake. But if you really, really, really are honest with yourself, did you really make a mistake? Did you pick that poor choice because you just really didn't know and you really didn't understand how everything was going to turn out? Or did you just let your flesh and your emotions and your feelings, drive and push you to your bad decision making? Ask yourself that question. And that's the thing that I task myself with all the time. There were times that when I was, and I'm still trying to lose weight. Okay. I'm still trying to lose weight, still trying to get to my goal weight. But there were times where I really didn't understand about nutrition the way that I do now. I grew up eating candy. I grew up eating, now laters and what's that other one? Fun Dip and lemon heads and Boston baked beans and all of those things. And I was doing it because I was a kid and I didn't know any better. And I thought that's all that you were supposed to do as a kid because everybody else was doing it. And nobody told me that, this was not what you were supposed to be doing. Okay. And so I grew up at the store. I grew up at a time where there was penny candy, where you could go with $1 and buy 100 pieces of candy. Okay. That doesn't exist anymore. But I grew up during that time frame. I didn't know that if you constantly ate candy all the time. As a child, I did not know that if you had a lifestyle of eating, sweets and candy all of the time, that the consequence is that you could end up being sick down the line. You can end up with sugar diabetes. Okay. You can, end up with sugar-induced comas and things of that nature. I didn't understand any of that. I didn't know any of that. I didn't understand that. I was just always eating candy all the time. I love cookies. I still do, even though I don't eat them as much. I hardly eat them at all. Really, I hardly eat very little of them. But I didn't understand back then that a lifetime of eating like that can put you in a bad place down the line. So I was innocently, in my ignorance, just joyfully and blissfully, you know, making a mistake with my eating habits, because there was nobody really teaching me at that time that that was not the proper way to eat. That was not the way to eat healthy. Now I was told don't eat all of that. It was given to me in rations and stuff like that by my grandparents and the adults that were in my life. But I was still eating that type of food. I was still eating that type of stuff. That was in my ignorance. I didn't know about nutrition. I didn't know how these different things can affect my body and can affect my brain and could affect my overall physical health down the line. But as I began to, over the years, I think back in 2003, I've been Kool-Aid free since 2003. I used to drink Kool-Aid. I used to make it ghetto style with the sugar, accumulating at the bottom of the pitcher. I grew up drinking Kool-Aid. But I found out how sugar affected my body. And I found out how sugar can put weight on you. And I couldn't understand why. I wanted to lose weight and all that kind of stuff. And I was exercising. I couldn't figure out why I couldn't lose this weight. Well, I still had a lot of sugar in my diet, a lot of sweets, a lot of sugar. I was getting a little older. I had children and things of that nature, but my diet was really the key behind it. And so slowly but surely I started, as I started gaining knowledge about nutrition and how it affected my body later on in life. I was an adult. I started cutting things out of my diet. Well, I went on an Atkins diet. I don't suggest that people do that. It's very extreme, but I did it. I did it twice. And that diet at the time helped me to understand about different things. And that was the diet that helped me get off of all of that sugar. Because during that time frame that I was on it, I lost 28 pounds because I had cut so much sugar out of my diet. And so I started gaining an understanding. And then I had a choice. The better choice was to cut that sugar out of my diet, cut the high amounts of sugar that I had in my diet, cut it out, or go right back to eating it. Those are my two choices. Well, at that point, I went back and I was still, after I got off of the diet or whatever, I went back and I made the poor choice. And I went back to eating, the sugar, whatever it was, cakes, cookies, whatever. I went back to eating it. So my poor choice in my mind was, okay, I'm off the diet. I'm going to go back to eating it. And then I went into the bad decision. Okay. And so I went through a cycle, a death cycle of trying to lose weight, doing something that helped me lose weight for, a season or whatever. And then I had the two choices in front of me to keep, building on what I had learned about nutrition and keep moving further, or go right back to what I was doing. And I kept picking the poor choice, which led to my bad decision. And I kept having the cycles of, losing the same 5 or 10 pounds or whatever, and being frustrated all the time. And I would pray and, ask y'all to help me and all this kind of stuff. And then after a while, he said, you know what to do. I've shown you what to do. and you keep going back to what you were doing. And that's why you end up right back in the same position of having to lose the same weight over and over and over again. And I probably lost hundreds of pounds over the years because I have lost the same 20, 10, 20, 30 pounds over and over and over again, and then gained them right back because I was no longer making the mistake that I made when I was in elementary school and junior high school or what have you. But now I knew, but I had a good choice and a poor choice in front of me. And I was going back, picking the poor choice and moving into the bad decision over and over and over again. And many times people are doing that, and people pray for me, pray that I'll get delivered, pray that the Father will give me another chance and pull me out of this situation. But then they go back, they have those same choices in front of them. Do I go back and do I build on what I've learned, what I've learned from the word? The Father has been merciful to you. You quote unquote asked for forgiveness, you repented, and then the test comes again, and you have the choice. Do I do what the word says in this particular situation? Or do I give into my flesh? Do I give into my emotions? Do I give into my feelings? And I pick the poor choice, and I go ahead and execute the bad decision. And then come back again and say, I made that mistake. You're not making a mistake when you're doing it over and over and over and over again. You're constantly picking the poor choice and executing the bad decision. That's what's happening in most people's lives. But they hang the label of mistake on picking the poor choice and executing a bad decision. Ask yourself, is that me? I have to ask myself that all the time. Is that me in this particular area? And everybody knows where they're struggling and where you've kind of procrastinated with the way you are making decisions in particular areas of your life, and you are struggling, and you have really opened the door for demonic activity to come into your life. And people don't like to hear that. Oh, that's not demonic. I just made a mistake. Stop and be honest with yourself. Stop with the self-deception, because you'll grow a lot faster and really be able to obtain and maintain and walk in the newness of life, the abundant life that Yahusha came for you to have, and a transformative life if you learn how to be truthful with where you are spiritually, physically, mentally, emotionally, financially, and academically, in every area of your life. If you start to really examine yourself and examine your decision making, did you genuinely make a mistake, or did you pick a poor choice and execute a bad decision? Let's go to our first scripture, Proverbs chapter 3, verses 5 through 8. Trust in El Yahuwah with all your heart, and lean not unto your own understanding. Okay? So if you are in a situation that you have very little or hardly any really experience, information, you haven't done any research, nothing, you've got to trust El Yahuwah with all your heart. And don't lean on your own understanding, especially if you have little to no understanding in the circumstance with which you are dealing. This is very, very important, because, emotions can have you going up and down. And just it has been said over and over and over again, never make a decision when you're upset or when you're highly emotional. Okay, because you can make a decision when you're upset or you're highly emotional, you know, or you're angry and you're up here, or you're depressed and you're down here and you're discouraged, and you're not thinking with a clear head or clear mind, and you make a decision, and then you go back and like, man, I wish I hadn't have done that. I really regret doing that. I should have, prayed, slept on it, and made a better decision in the morning, or the next day. You've got to learn how to do that. Or, take the time out and pray and say, Father, this has been bothering me. This is what's going on in my life. I need your wisdom. I need your direction. I need your revelation knowledge on what I should do, how I should conduct myself. I don't have any, points of references from my past on what I should do or what I shouldn't do in this area. Father, I need you to teach me what to do in this area. I need you to show me what to do in this area, because I don't have a clear understanding on what to do. And I don't want to make the wrong decision. I don't want to be caught in a snare. I don't want to be self-deceived. We've got to learn how to go before the Most High Yah like that. Okay? When we have choices in front of us and we really don't know which choice to make, and we want to do the right thing, and we want Yah's manifested peace to be on our hearts and minds in our decision making. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your paths. Okay? If we acknowledge the Most High Yah in all our ways and be sincere, humble ourselves, be genuine, and go before the Most High, instead of putting him on the back burner and, going to Yah in a way that we're asking him to pick up the pieces of our lives that we did it. We did it to ourselves in our decision making. Why not go to the Most High first and acknowledge him in all of our ways so that he can direct our paths? He knows the end from the beginning. He knows what's best for our lives. He is the answer. He has the problem to every solution. Okay? But we have to trust Yah with all of our hearts. And we have to trust him more than we trust ourselves. Okay? That he's not going to steer us wrong. He's not going to take us down the wrong path. He's going to do what is best for us. He's going to show us the right way. And when you trust him with everything that you have, when you trust Yah with your life, then you're not going to be worried that he's, what somebody's going to say. Because a lot of times we won't go ahead and make the decision because of the fact that we're more concerned about what man is going to say or how somebody is going to respond to the decision that we're making, that the Father has clearly told us, this is the direction that you need to go in. This is the path that you need to take. This is how you need to, solve this particular issue. And a lot of times we're like, but this, we pick this choice because it seems like it'll please everybody else, but it's the poor choice. And so we've got to make sure that we're not doing that we're not picking the poor choice to please man. And then we want to slap the label of, I made a mistake on it. Okay? Be not wise in your own eyes. Okay? That's the other thing. We got to stop acting like we know everything. Oh, I know everything. I know everything. You've been around people that act like they know everything about everything. Nobody knows everything about everything. Okay? And I tell people all the time, I know what I know, and I know what I don't know. Okay? And, if somebody comes and asks me a question about something, I'm like, look, I'm not very, knowledgeable about that. I may tell you, I know somebody who is, but I always say, you need to pray. If there's someone that knows Yah, hey, Have you sat down and you really talked to Yah about this? Have you really prayed and asked him how you could handle this situation? What you should do in this particular circumstance or situation? Have you prayed? Have you talked? And a lot of times people haven't. They really, really haven't. They are so used to just telling other people about what's going on in their life, but they haven't started really talking to Yah about their life and really tapping in to their relationship with him. And that's something that we have all got to really stay connected to Yah in, and not just be thinking that we can just do whatever we think is right in our own eyes. Okay? Because a lot of times what we may think is right in our own eyes is actually tainted with a worldview. It's really, cluttered with, faulty thinking a lot of times because we need to renew our mind in that particular area. And so, in order for us not to be wise in our own eyes, we need to make sure that we are reading the scriptures, that we are meditating upon them, that we are praying and asking the Most High Yah to teach us about what we're reading in scripture and and praying and saying, Father, I've been reading this. How do I live this out in my life? How does this apply to me in my life at the stage that I'm at right now? And, how do I walk this out? I've been having this issue on my job, or I've been having this problem with my business, or this is where I am with my business or on my job, or, in my marriage or with my family or in my friendships or whatever the case might be. How do I handle this according to scripture? How do I handle this so that I'm handling it the way that you would have me to handle it as a child of the Most High Yah, with set apart character and integrity, and as unto Yah, and not just to please man? And see, that's a totally different way of approaching decision making or taking accountability or really looking at your choices. Okay? And this is for things that you don't know. And a lot of times people know, don't do this. But they're just like, oh, I'm going to do this anyway. And they execute sin because they can't get their flesh under control. And then they use the scapegoat mistake of, I just made that same mistake over and over and over again. It's not a mistake when you keep doing it again and again. And a lot of times it wasn't even a mistake the first time you did it. People just, give you a pass the first time. But it really wasn't a mistake. You knew the first time that you were not right in picking that poor choice and then executing a bad decision. And that is something that has kept me out of a lot of trouble throughout my life. I've had my fair share of times where I picked poor choices and executed bad decisions. But as I've continued to live and move on in my life, I started really learning that if I go down this path, I'm going to regret it. And I didn't like how I felt after I, picked the poor choice and executed the bad decision. I didn't like it. And I saw it a lot, especially with my eating habits. Get on the scale the next day, gained however many pounds because I went on ahead and ate whatever. And so now I think about what I'm eating. I eat to live. I'm using that as an example because that's something that people can see right away. Now I eat to live. I think about it, and I have to when I go into a grocery store because everything's just laid out in front of you. Cookies, candies, cakes, baked, pastries. I still like all of that stuff. But I make, the right choice. Most of the time I make the right choice. Every now and again, I might grab something, but less and less I'm doing that because now the more I make the right choice and I pick the right choice and execute the right decision, I start to see the manifestation of those right choices and those right decisions being manifested in my life with my health, and in my eating habits and how I feel, because now I know better. Okay. Now I know better. Fear Yahuwah and depart from evil. Okay. Fear Yahuwah and depart from evil. That's a decision. That's when you're going to be intentional about how you live. When you fear Yahuwah more than you fear man, when you fear the chastisement of Yah more than in the judgment of Yah and the wrath of Yah, if you pick that poor choice and execute that bad decision, which is, a sinful lifestyle, a sinful practice, and you are more fearful of the chastisement and the judgment of Yah that can be manifested in your life more than you care about the opinions of man, that's when your decision making becomes more solidified. And that's when you'll begin to live more of a set apart life. And you won't be looking for that scapegoat of, oh, I just made a mistake. Oh, I just can't help myself. No, that's when you learn how to get your flesh under control and say no to your flesh and say no to other people. And when they ask why, you can tell them, not with pride, but also with boldness, that, look, this is the way that I'm living my life. And I really don't have time for the negative consequences that come from doing that to show up in my life. I'm living my life this way now. And yes, you're going to have different people who are going to be in your life when you start, moving into picking the right choices and executing the right decisions, the righteous decisions in your life. Verse 8 says, it shall be health to your navel and marrow to your bones. Okay? It's good for you. It's good for you. It's healthy for you to make the right decision, to pick the righteous choices and execute the righteous decisions in your life. It will be health to you. Health to your navel and marrow to your bones. A lot of us are physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually sick and unhealthy because we keep picking the poor choices and executing the bad decisions, and then going back and saying, oh, I made a mistake. Like I said, mistakes are when you do something and you truly and sincerely and genuinely did not have the knowledge at all that what you were doing was wrong. And most people know that the choice that they are going to make and the decision that they're about to execute, once they pick that poor choice, they know it's wrong. They know it's wrong. And we've got to get out of those death cycle decisions. We really have got to get out of the death cycle decision-making business where we keep on picking those poor choices, because after a while, other people who have started living righteously, who have started living the set-apart life, they're not going to want to have anything to do with you if they're really trying to live right before the Most High Yah. We are in the last days, so we don't have time to be shucking and jiving and straddling the fence and living a lukewarm lifestyle. Ask yourself, did I make a mistake? Or did I pick a poor choice and execute a bad decision? That's what you got to be asking yourself all the time, every day in your decision making. Let's go to our next verse, James chapter 4, verse 17. Therefore, to him that knows to do good and does it not, to him it is sin. Therefore, to him that knows to do good and does it not, to him it is sin. Once again, most people know that what they're getting ready to do is wrong. They know. Most people know that they shouldn't even be thinking the way that they're thinking, okay? Or they know they shouldn't be talking the way that they're talking, or they know they shouldn't be dressing the way that they're dressing, or they know that they shouldn't be hanging out with the people that they're hanging out with, or they shouldn't be eating the way that they are eating. Whatever it is that you're doing in the booth, in the back, in the corner, in the dark, if you're slip, dipping, and tripping, you know that you shouldn't be picking those poor choices. You knew it before you did it. And I always used to joke with my students, they said, "Oh, you never tried smoking?" And I said, "Nope. I don't smoke, I don't chew, and I don't hang with those that do." I always told them that because I know that my association with particular types of people matter. I know that. So I've made intentional decisions in my life that keep me from going down the wrong path. And I look at other people that were in my life, as I was growing up, from me being a child to a teenager and all of that. And I knew when I was starting to go down the wrong path in my life. And I look back on it now and some of the decisions that I made, and I know for a fact this is how I ended up in that decision. I made that, I picked that poor choice. I executed that bad decision. I had to own it. This is what I did wrong. I should have cut it off right then and there. I should have stopped this. I should have stopped doing this. I should have stopped saying that. I should have stopped hanging out here. I should have cut that person off. And I didn't. So that's how I ended up in this particular situation. And so I had to learn to start owning it. And I tell people all the time, if this is going to be your decision, own it. And a lot of people go, "Well, what do you think I should do? What do you think I should do with this?" They're quick. The reason why they're constantly asking you, or somebody else, because they are trying to set it up so that if it doesn't work out, they will have somebody to blame. And see, that's that lack of accountability. And so this is how we've got to learn how to hold ourselves accountable. When you get ready to make your decisions, own it, live with the results, but know that I'm living with these results because I have acknowledged the Most High Yah in all of my ways so that he can direct my path. Okay? I'm not being wise in my own eyes. I'm not doing what I think is right because it makes me feel good. Okay? I'm going to fear Yahuwah and I'm going to depart from evil because I know that if I get myself involved in that, the chastisement of Yah, the judgment of Yah, the wrath of Yah will be manifested in my life. So, I'm not even sorry if you don't like it. You kind of gotta be unapologetic about doing what you know is the right thing to do. You've got to be unapologetic about living righteously. And that's the thing. You really have to stand firm on doing what is right in the eyesight of Yah instead of what is right in the eyesight of man. And so this is about, how you're labeling what you're doing in your life. And most people label things that they are doing as mistakes, and it's not true. Remember, a mistake is when you do something and you really didn't understand or have any foreknowledge at all that what you were doing was a mistake. Now, if you are really spiritually connected to Yah and your relationship with him, and you don't know that what you're getting ready to do is the wrong choice or the wrong path or the wrong direction, he will, put a check in your spirit. He'll put a check in your ruach, and he'll tell you, stand down, take several seats. And you may not understand it right in that moment, but if you're obedient to him, when he tells you to stand down, when he tells you don't do that, hold up, and you're obedient to at least that instruction, it will play out, and you will go, oh, thank you, Abba Yah. I am so glad that I didn't do fill in the blank. But he can only pull your spiritual coattail when you're connected to him. And when you're truly connected to him and you've got you're abiding in him and you're allowing his words to abide in you, he will sup with you. He will be with you. He'll be so connected with you. And if he knows that your heart is right and your heart is turned towards him, and that you want to make, you want to pick the right choice and execute the righteous decision every time, he's going to give you the desire of your heart, because he knows you want to make sure that you're lined up for your with his will and his purpose and his destiny for your life. So think about it. Where are you in your decision making? How are you labeling what you're thinking, what you're saying, what you're doing, and how you're living your life? Are you just running around, day in and day out? Oh, I just made that mistake again. Oh, that was a mistake. Oh, my mistake. Is it? Is it a mistake? Is it a poor choice and then you just executed a bad decision? Take the time to think about that. Go over these two passages of scripture. Remember, if you already know that you know the right thing to do and you don't do it, you've sinned, whatever it is. Because if the Father told you don't do that and you did it anyway, then you've disobeyed the Most High Yah, so you're in sin. Okay? Period. So disobedience, to not carrying out the instructions of what the Most High Yah told you to do or not to do is sin. And so you got to really think about it. And when you know better, you should do better. When you know better, you should do better. So as a person, as a 53-year-old woman, I am not still running around eating Boston baked beans, pixie sticks, now laters, and lemon heads, talking about, I just made a mistake, I didn't know. No. Now, that is definitely a poor choice and a bad decision, because I know better. I know better about my eating habits. I know the consequences of eating the level of sugar that I used to eat when I was a little girl. Okay? I know better. And so now I am doing better with my eating habits. And that's the way we have to look at our lives. When we know better, we ought to strive to do better. Humble ourselves. We may have to repent and say, Abba Yah, I've just been picking the poor choices in my life over and over again. I've been, just using the excuse of these being a mistake. And I know that I've been making the bad decisions, and I've been going down the sinful path, and I've been living a lifestyle of sin, especially in these areas. Abba Yah, forgive me. I humble myself before you. Abba Yah, forgive me. Forgive me. Cleanse me. Purge me. And thank you for your patience with me, Abba Yah, because I know you didn't have to do it. I know you didn't have to let me live. I know you didn't have to wake me up this morning. I know you didn't have to put this breath in my body, and you didn't have to give me another opportunity to get it right before you, but you did. And I say thank you, Abba Yah, for the opportunity to get it right before you today. I thank you, Abba Yah, for the opportunity to execute your word in my life, to be a living letter, to be a living epistle before you. Abba Yah, show me how to live righteously before you. Show me, Abba Yah, how to do what is pleasing in your eyesight. Give me the power and the strength and the courage and the boldness to live my life as unto you. Teach me, show me, and lead me and guide me and direct me into all truth. Order my steps, Abba Yah. That's how we need to be praying. And as he continues to purge you and cleanse you and peel back the layers of sin in your life, and all of us have layers because we've been exposed to so much deception. We live in a sin-sick world, and we have been exposed to so much deception, lies, programming, indoctrination. There's a lot of things that we have been doing in our ignorance that is sinful, wicked, wrong, and an abomination in the eyesight of the Most High Yah. But when you find out, as you continue to study and you continue to do your research, and Abba Yah continues to teach you and show you, there's more things that you're going to have to stop doing, pull away from, throw out, get it out of your life. And ask Abba Yah, I did not know. Demonic altars, demonic covenants, different things that demonic contracts and agreements, things that you have done with people, and you really didn't know at the time. And at the time, Abba Yah winked because you were ignorant. But once he reveals it to you and once he exposes it to you, you're no longer ignorant and he's no longer winking at your sin. So think about it. Mistakes, poor choices, decisions. Where are you? Where are you in your life in those three areas? And how many things are you labeling as mistakes that are actually poor choices that you picked and then you executed the bad decision? So I just want to thank all of you who are here with me live and those who will watch this video at another time for joining me for WOW equals Words of Wisdom number 43, mistakes, poor choices, and bad decisions. And I pray that you have a positive, powerful, and productive day. Shalom.